everyone. All right, we are live right now. So take this opportunity to welcome everyone to the 2021 AFL Red Carpet Event. Joining you right now on camera, you see Mr. Second Place, Tony Mize. And over here, spinning around, is former league champion Guy Conkey, 2016 league champion. Well, others, of course, will be joining us in here. Two people that will not be joining us for sure are Jimmy Chase and Jordan Briggs. They have already submitted their votes to me yesterday. They will not be able to watch the stream at all. We're going to have 5 people watching on stream, and the rest are going to be in house. Have a wide spread of food, beverages, good times, good folks, good conversation. And so I wasn't expecting to have this many people to start. So let's talk about season 2021. Definitely, you could say it was the season of turnaround. The off season into season of trade. Actually, during the draft trade, first time ever that happened. Some massive trades happened. This guy had a lot of them.
I did.
I had a lot of them, and no pun intended. This guy had a lot of them.
He had one of the biggest ones.
He had actually the biggest one, which Mark is going to be enjoying for the next 3 years. Um, and actually, I was just telling this to Tony yesterday. Mark literally has 3 first-round picks this year. He has 3 first-round picks next year, and he has 2 the following year.
Yeah, but you gotta be able to draft and make those picks count.
True, true. I guess you're the one that's got to deal with it twice a year. We don't. I think we only got to deal with once in that 3 years. Well, I'm not counting if playoffs.
But like I said, you got to make those. You got to hit on those draft picks.
Right. Shouldn't be too hard to hit this year.
Yeah, this year will be interesting too.
Yeah, with only 5 keepers, there's gonna be a lot of people.
Well, in my opinion, though, this is probably going to be one of the weaker rookie classes, at least for running backs, for sure.
Yeah, I think
I know I'm saying it wrong.
ETN.
Etienne from Clemson is going to be. I think he'll be a top 3 pick in our draft. But then after that, then it's what Najee Harris,
Those who are depending where they get drafted to.
right. That's true. True.
LSU.
And obviously not having a combine isn't going to help some of these guys either. But I don't see a lot of. Mainly running backs are going to get kept from each team, at least most of them. And now, as far as the other rookies, I think that are coming out, I don't want to spend too much time on the rookies, but I think it's a decent quarterback class coming out.
I think it's trash this year.
Really?
I think there's Lawrence, and that's it. I don't think
I'm still
any.
kind of iffy on Lawrence for some reason. Like everything says he should be good, but there's something that like I'm just like I don't think he's going to be as good as advertised.
Huh?
I wouldn't be surprised if Urban Meyer does something weird and goes with like Wilson.
Could be
Fields.
Russ, but
or Fields.
could be.
I like the kid out of Texas isn't bad, Ellinger. And what's the other one? Dang it, what's his name? It's Trask, kid out of Florida. And then I think there's a pretty good set of wide receivers too.
There's some
Wide receivers are pretty.
yeah.
Stacked.
I mean, I've
And
seen
it-
some projections actually
and then the one
has.
tight end.
Oh, there's a stud tight end. Look at this guy. He's just trying to. He doesn't have a first round pick, so he's like, slide to the second, slide to the second. All right, so let's talk about. Let's see, which team should we talk about first? Let's talk about. Let's see, age before beauty. We'll go with the short guy first.
Okay.
So you came into the season. You took over a team that was the second worst team in 2019. You were able to turn it into the second best team in 2020. Let's see. Let's talk about some of your games. Where's the, sorry, I got so
I
many
lost to
papers.
Ergain
I got papers all over the place here.
first time by like 4 points.
So your overall record, you went 8-5 in the regular season, and then had some obviously some good playoff matches. And came up short in the championship.
I know.
So hindsight, I mean, we're talking about hindsight being 2020. I'm sure hindsight being 2020, you're definitely making some different moves
Yep,
in your
I'm
starting lineup.
starting Michael Gallup for sure and Gus Edwards. I'm not starting the Dolphins.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't have started a 2020 running back out of
Well,
Miami either.
Ahmad in the previous week scored me 170 fantasy points. So I was like, I got to start him. I didn't know Gaskin was coming back that week, and I already had my lineup set, and I didn't ever check it again, and kind of screwed myself.
So I go in through and I looked up some key games. This is kind of everyone know. And if there was a matchup where the score was 100 points or less, because our lineups, we have so many people in our lineups, really 100 points getting made up isn't that hard.
No.
So you're actually on here quite a bit. So in week one, you beat Raymond by was it not even 100 points? It was 1370 to 1262. Um, so if one of his receivers and running back have a little bit better game, that could that actually puts you out of the playoffs.
Yep.
Here, this is your Achilles heel is Nick Ergang. He beat you by 4 points in week two. So right there, if you win that one, you actually win your division, I believe. And then we go to where's the next time you're up here?
Probably against Ergain again.
Yep, week 13. That one you lost. Now that one was a little bit not as close, but it was 1370 to 1297.
40 points. 30
And then
points.
your playoff matches. You beat Mark by not even 40 points. It was 38-point win there. And then you beat Anthony by 90 points in round two. Obviously, there was a more than 100-point differential in the championship game, but
Yeah.
um, I mean, obviously, I mean, I look at this one with Mark. I mean, you almost didn't. That could have been a loss.
Yep.
And then where else did you sit? So as far as where you ranked, um, so offensively, this is points scored. For the whole season,
I was third,
you
I
had
believe.
18,478 points scored, which ranked you third overall. And then points against, though, it was 16,644 points given up, which put you sixth. So, and the funny thing is, sixth place. I mean, think about that. That's actually where you were sitting going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
All in all, it wasn't a bad season for you.
It was better than I expected. I expected to be in the bottom of the barrel.
You were hoping to get. I remember when you
I
started.
was shooting for the Peyton Hillis
Yeah, you were
Award,
shooting for the Peyton
and
Hillis
and I
Award.
got lucky by picking up James Robinson in free
Yep.
agency and trading Guy for Justin Herbert. Completely changed my season right
Guy,
there.
looking back, you're on camera now. Looking back at that, do you wish you would have kept Herbert, or wish you would have held out?
The situation I was in is McCaffrey was hurt, Mixon was hurt, and my other running back was like Chase Edmonds, which I had three running backs on my team. I had no running backs. I had
I,
drafted Herbert, but I also had Mahomes and Burrow. Herbert was just a guy he hasn't started any games yet, so I was like,
and I was giving him Todd Gurley and a second round pick.
yeah, and
Right.
Gurley was scoring quite a bit at the
Yeah.
time. I knew you liked Herbert, so I was like, I know I can get that running back. So
Yep.
I went and got him. Unfortunately, at that point, Gurley
Yeah.
was somewhere else.
And then Burrow gets hurt,
Burrow got hurt, and then Herbert
blew up.
blew up.
Yeah. I actually was in the hospital with my heart attack when I was watching the game. At halftime, I'm already getting a hold of him and saying, "What do you want for Herbert?" I wanted him. I didn't care.
So our experts sat down and looked at your roster. Now this is not including that if you do a trade or something. We picked the who we think you're going to keep. So we think you're going to keep Justin Herbert.
For sure.
We think possibly Brandon Ayuk, Leonard Fournette, Keenan Allen, and James Robinson. Just missing out, being as normally we've always kept 10, so I actually did 10. Just missing out are Michael Gallup, Buda Baker, Levante David, Zach Cunningham, and Miles Garrett. And of course, this could change if you were to make some kind of trade or
There's one player that's not on that list that would be. Oh, he is there. That would be a definite keeper for me. You know who that is?
Philip Rivers retired.
Oh, not him.
Oh, AJ Dillon.
Yes. If
He
if
bounced
uh
around quite a bit this season.
if Aaron Jones leaves and
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Williams leaves, he's the guy.
Jamal
So
Williams actually wants to stay in Green Bay.
he can stay. He's a receiving back.
I think Aaron Jones is going to Miami.
Yeah, he's going somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'll be in Green Bay.
No.
And that's the whole reason I drafted Dylan at 11 overall last year, is because I thought my season I wasn't going to end up second place. Um, so I was like, I'm drafting for 2021.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, any final thoughts on your season before we switch over to Guy?
Nope.
All right. So now we're going to look at Guy. And Guy, you finished in second place in your division, 7-6 record overall, and then unfortunately you did not. You finished what? Finished seventh overall for the league. Um,
Is that good?
so as far as let's see, competitive games you had. Oh, geez. Apparently none of your games were within 100 points. So not much to talk about there. Sorry, Guy. Um,
Happens.
let's see. Obviously, you did make that big trade, which we were talking about earlier. Let's see. Where did you rank? Now, ranking wise,
He was second overall.
you were second in scoring overall with 18,583 points.
Second
But
overall in scoring.
Hmm.
so I mean that was amazing. However, when people played you, they brought their best because you were 13th overall in points given up,
Mm-hmm.
18,044.
Yeah, it went Ross, um, you, me for
Way to save the suspense, Tony.
sorry.
And that's without McCaffrey for. McCaffrey played 2 games for me.
Yeah,
Mixon played like 1.
Yeah, Mixon. Oh, there was another deal. You acquired Mixon.
Yeah. Like I was ready to go.
yeah. After the McCaffrey deal, Eric at the draft was handing you the trophy, but it just didn't work
Because my
out.
receivers were very meh.
Yeah.
No, none of my receivers were consistent by
You
any
did
means.
make in the middle of the season. You did make that trade to get Higgins though,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be big for you if you keep Burrow and Higgins.
There falls in the 5 keepers,
I know.
and I had
So
like 8 that I
since
wanted to
since
keep
you
this
brought it
year.
up, we're gonna switch right to that. So our projected keepers for you, again, pending any trades, are Joe Mixon, Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and uh, Zach Moss. But then
I
just
would
making
keep
outside that,
Higgins
we
over
have
Moss.
T. Higgins, Robbie Anderson, DJ Shark, and Darren Waller.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. It's very. There's a group of guys that I want to keep. I feel like I can't not keep them, but I still only have 5 guys
Yeah, and
and
yeah,
a very good quarterback selection.
yes, two really good quarterbacks, and one of the quarterbacks you have is receiver, so
Mm-hmm.
that's big.
Which is also my plan. When I got Higgins, I had like a few offers floating around for other receivers. I went with him because I had Burrow. I
Yep.
was at that time thinking, okay, so I can either maybe decide to move on from Mahomes and get a big package for him, and I have Burrows and Higgins. Or I could trade Burrow with Higgins, hopefully get a big return out of that if I decide to do something like that.
Yep. I think it's a win. Like you not having first round draft picks for the next 3 years, you might be able to acquire one for Mahomes or the Burrow Higgins
Mm-hmm.
combination. You might be able to move back into the first round.
And that's why I made that trade for McCaffrey because I knew I had the ammo to go out and get other first round picks in the next couple few
Yeah.
years anyway.
I don't see this year people moving out of the first round with
No, and I mean, obviously, you guys decided to move out of the first round just altogether already.
So far.
shoot. I moved out of the first, third, fourth.
All
Well,
right.
in the middle of the season, in the middle of the season, when I was having, I realized I could win this. I made a couple deals. I when Le'Veon Bell um, moved on to the Chiefs, I acquired P Ryan from you, thinking he's going to be the guy. There's another running back for
Mm-hmm.
me. He got COVID. He was out injured, and then I traded again Eric for Hunter Henry because I didn't have a viable tight end, and Hunter Henry basically won me a couple games. So
All right, Guy, any final thoughts on your season?
I think I was very close to them being very competitive if McCaffrey and Mixon would have stayed
Injuries.
healthy. Injuries kept
injuries
me
hurt
out of
you.
title contention,
Um,
which would have made those trades well worthwhile.
Yeah,
so let's move on to someone who will not be here, and that's Jimmy. Now, Jimmy, he actually had the worst record last year in 2019, and he turned around and to get himself back into the playoffs for the first time in I think 4 years. Finished with a 9-4 record in the regular season, and then he finished uh, fifth place overall. He lost to, who did he lose to? He lost to Ross in the first round, and then he ended up beating Mark in the fifth place game. Let's see. Jimmy had close games. In week 2, he lost to Efren by what 9 points, which that could take him to 10 wins. Takes Efren down.
they'd have the same record. Be a tie in that division.
Holy
Oh
cow,
wait,
they would have had the same. You know what? He beats Efren in week 2. He actually would have been, I think, the number 1 seed.
yes he would have.
And then, but Efren would have still made it, but Efren would have been in his spot.
Yep.
Wow. 9 points changed his season. Holy cow. And then he also had a close one week 3 against Dennis. He did win that one though. That was like a 33-point spread. Uh, and then he lost to Ray. He must have had injuries or something that week. He lost to Ray. It was he only put up 987, and Ray had 1,144. What other? I thought he had one more close one. I guess he didn't. As far as where he sits ranking wise, offensively, Jimmy put 17,873 points up for sixth place overall scoring, and he gave up 16,758, which put him seventh. So really, right around where he kind of ended up finishing. Actually, he finished a little bit better than those ratings show, but again, this shows you like how much of 1 or 2 games can make a difference.
Yep.
Now for Jimmy, we are looking at his keepers really quick. And he actually has 2 first-round picks in this year's draft as well. One is a potential lottery pick because of a trade he made with Nick Ritz. All right, so we have his. Well, I guess I didn't mark his. So looking at his 5, Aaron Rodgers should be one of them. Dalvin Cook should be one of them. Clyde Edwards-Helaire should be one of them. Uh,
I'd say Deontay Johnson.
Okay, so he's got 2 spots left. So these are pretty much the he could. So as Jerry Judy could be one of them. Deontay Johnson could be one of them.
That's the other. Jerry Judy is the other one I slated.
Debo Samuel
Nope.
or Henry Ruggs. Those are the four I think he would choose. If I was going to say, probably Judy and
Judy and
Deontay
Johnson.
Johnson.
Yep.
All depends on how much he likes Debo Samuel, I guess.
I think that depends on who Denver's quarterback ends up being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they upgrade, then I think you keep Judy.
I think you keep Judy either way.
Yeah,
Because
probably.
because I mean Judy's rookie year, they're gonna get a quarterback in Denver at some point, either this year or next year.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to the next person that we know is not going to be here, and that's
And
Jordan.
to make a point
Oh,
to on Jimmy and my team, Jimmy was the 16th place team in 2019. I was the 15th. Um, we both made the playoffs. So to all those bottom dwelling teams, you can turn it around in a year. You just got to be very active in the trades. I know Guy did it. His first year, he won the championship.
I didn't have a first round pick that year.
Yeah,
no, and his was an expansion team.
yeah. So just for the teams that didn't even make the best of the rest, you can turn it around. You
Yeah.
just got to be active in trading and draft well.
So Megan, well,
Yeah.
welcome Megan taking over, of
Yep.
course,
Active
Ray's
in the
team,
future.
and Kyle taking over Ross's team. Obviously, they're if you're listening. Well, I guess Kyle, you don't really have much to turn around. You got a
Yeah.
loaded team already. So let's go to
Half of
Jordan.
Ross's team was my
Uh,
old team.
huh?
I think half of Ross's team was my old team.
Yeah, half of Ray's team was Eric Light. So Jordan, Jordan really surprised me. He finished 3-10. His I thought he was gonna be a lot stronger this year than he ended up finishing.
He had a lot of injuries
He
too.
did. Let's see, close games. He had he lost to Mark in week 2. That one was like an 80-point spread. I don't think he had too many close ones. Yeah, that's the only one he really had that was even remotely close. Um, where did he sit ranking wise? So offensively, he put 15,276 points, which put him 14th overall in scoring, and then given up 17,393, which put him 10th. So if his team scores a little bit more, maybe he moves up a few, maybe he gets a couple more games. He's still not going to be really relevant in 2020, like I thought he was going to when you looked at his roster. But like Tony said, there were injuries. So potential keepers, we're looking at Mike Evans,
That's a definite.
Jarvis Landry, Tom Brady, because it sounds like Brady will be coming back, Sony Michelle, and Brandon Cooks. Another player he might consider, depending where this guy goes in free agency, is AJ Green.
He's got Raheem Mostert too. If he wants to keep that running back, I don't. This running back situation in San Francisco is you
Yeah,
never know who's going to play. So
I think the Niners are going to probably try to upgrade running back this year.
that could be. There's a lot of good free agent running backs coming out.
Let's see. Yeah, now. Unfortunately, Jordan he finished. So he was actually supposed to have the 4th overall pick. He traded that which got him Mike Evans. He traded that in the offseason to Efren, who then traded that to Christina. So he doesn't have a first round pick this year, which isn't when you're going 3-10, you need to have a first round pick, especially in this year's draft. So that's going to hurt him a little bit, but hopefully he can maybe make some deals and maybe upgrade that roster.
Yeah, he'll need to look at adding quarterback depth because Brady is good for another. Who knows? But I mean, he's got.
I'd say year,
Yeah.
maybe two.
Or Brady could play another year in Tampa. And he's a free agent. He can go somewhere else. It's a quarterback away.
Yep.
So let's talk about someone else that's not going to be here, and let's talk about the 2020 league champion, Efren. Efren finished 11 and 2 in the regular season, got his first division championship. Um, and then obviously close games, he was in here quite a bit. Like I said, he beat Jimmy in week 2 by 9 points, and then he beat me in week 3 by a little less than 100 points. Week, I know he's up here again. Week 10, he beat Will by 80 points. And then the big one, obviously, was the second round of the playoffs where he beat Ross by 1 point. I mean, it doesn't really get much closer than that.
Yeah.
Especially with our scoring system, like 1 point. Like,
I mean,
Yeah.
1 point. I remember uh, it was a Monday night game, and the only thing that Ross had left was, which ironically was in 2019, was a player for Efren, was Jesse Bates, the safety for Cincinnati, and literally all he had to get is bat one ball down, get an assisted tackle, anything, and he beats Efren. And then he goes on to slaughter you in the next round.
Yep.
It wouldn't matter if he had Gallup.
It wouldn't have mattered.
You could
He
have
would
had
have
probably
just
your whole
crushed him.
roster going. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yep.
Overall, Efren finished for scoring 17,451 points, which put him eighth. So obviously you look at that, it's like, well, he won it all with eighth overall scoring. The reason he won it is points given up. When teams faced him, he gave up 15,505, which was second place for giving up points. So when teams played him, they brought their worst.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I mean it wasn't. I mean obviously he did have a solid team, and it wasn't like it was a fluke or anything like that.
No,
I mean
he
there's
he
luck involved, obviously, but it was he worked hard over the last couple of years to build this team up to get him in that position. So we look to 2021. His potential keepers are, he might keep Derrick Henry.
no, he's gonna trade Derrick Henry to me.
He might keep Melvin Gordon. Wide receiver DJ Moore. Um, Quarterback Matt Ryan. And then that final spot, I think, comes down to two players, Devontae Parker and Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, that's kind of what I looked at when I was looking at it last
You know,
night.
and it might come down to where Samuel goes in free agency.
mm-hmm.
Um, Another one he could consider, depending what happens with this guy, is Marlon Mack. If Marlon Mack was to maybe go somewhere else and get some more carries, I mean, when he was healthy in 2019, he was pretty damn good.
Yeah,
Sorry
But
for my
that
I don't
language.
think he's going to sign anywhere and get a starting.
that's before Jonathan Taylor. So now that Jonathan Taylor's there and Jonathan Taylor cemented himself as
No,
the
I'm
number one
I'm
back.
saying is if he's not in
Oh
Indianapolis
yeah,
next year.
yeah.
I don't think it matters where he goes. I don't think he's any more than a two.
Um, so that was Efren. Congratulations. Of course, Efren was here a couple weeks ago, and we did a small stream where we handed him the trophy because obviously we knew he wasn't going to be here for this today. Let's see, who should we go to next that's not going to be here? You know what? We'll recap Raymond's team, which of course is now Megan's team. Raymond finished 7-6, which actually was one of his best seasons in his time in the league. He was a charter member. Close games. I think I mentioned one where he lost to you by a little under 100 points. Um, and then he had I think I mentioned another one. Oh, in week 4, he beat Christina by, I guess that's a little, never mind. I wrote that one down wrong. That was a little more than 100 points. He beat Jim, oh, that one too. Here we go. He beat Dennis in week 7. That one was, what, 40
40
points?
points.
Uh, and then he lost to me in week 9, and that one was about 70 point differential. And then he beat Rich, which really this game you could say actually cost Rich because if Rich wins this match, Rich wins the division and almost keeps Ross out of the playoffs, which could have changed a lot of dynamic. But he lost to Rich, or he beat Rich by like 60 points. So, for him, actually was one of his better seasons, but we actually had him projected to make the playoffs going into the season with the roster he had.
Yeah.
Beckham obviously has fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, Nick Chubb did really well for him. As far as scoring, Raymond finished 15,947 points scored, which was 12th overall. And this is why he ended up 7-6. 16,328 points given up, which put him third overall in points against. So obviously, again, just like we were talking about with Efren, when teams played Raymond, they did not bring their best, or they just didn't perform well, or they just made poor choices in their
Yes.
lineup.
Yep. Very poor choices.
So of course he decided to step down, unfortunately, but he will be around. He's not going to be with us today, unfortunately. He couldn't make it. He would have been here the original time we had done it. He was going to be the one draft pulling the thing, so we'll play with that around when we get to the draft lottery. But he'll be here for the draft for sure. And his cousin, Rich's daughter Megan, is taking over his team. Um, and she actually approached me 2 years ago and said if there's an opening, this is after you would have joined already, and said the next opening I'd like to be considered. I'm like, okay. So she actually had it as a at school, her senior year in high school, which would have been 2019. Actually had fantasy football as a class, or it was part of a class.
Really?
I mean,
That's pretty cool.
we need to go back to school.
Like we had classes that you had.
I know you and I had chemistry together. You and I had algebras together.
One of the teachers did fantasy baseball, like the whole class drafted.
That had to have been Mr. Wanroy.
It wasn't Wanroy. Like we had like the USA Today once a week, and we got to go in and check stats. Like it was real ancient fantasy wise. I remember doing that in school, but like, yeah, that'd be great to in a class, fantasy sports class.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. I'd enjoy it.
Learn how to gamble that early an age. Perfect.
So looking at the roster she gets to pick from, we're looking at the potential 6 are Nick Chubb,
Yep.
Hollywood Marquise Brown,
Eh,
Yeah.
Julio Jones,
eh,
Mark Andrews,
yeah,
and then here's where it gets tricky. It's kind of between, depending what happens with him, Odell Beckham,
eh,
or it could be Ryan Tannehill.
eh.
With another, I don't think it'll be Edelman.
Okay.
I guess if she likes Big Ben, she could go with him. Sounds like they do want to bring him back,
I'd stay away.
huh?
I'd stay away from Ben.
Yeah. I'd prefer Tannenhill if
Yeah.
I between her keepers. I'd say Tannenhill, Julio Jones, Nick Chubb. I'd stay away from Marquise Brown. They just don't throw the ball enough for him to be productive unless
Oh,
he's
Marquise Brown actually scored a lot for. That was one of their best, the highest scoring players they had.
really.
Yeah, Beckham is the one that I maybe consider staying away from, but
I'm just not a fan of Brown.
Mm-hmm. Sounds
um,
like a good landing spot for like a Jalen Hurts type of quarterback.
and then obviously she's a
Oh, that's right. You have Hurts too.
love hurts. Of course she actually has a shot at the first overall pick. She sits with the fifth most amount of Easter eggs to pick from. So, and last year, that's who, when Raymond was in the draft lottery, he I think sat third though, but he ended up getting the first overall pick. So,
I sat second most, and I ended up with the fifth overall pick, and I traded that to Nick.
yeah.
So
So again, Megan, we'd like to say welcome to the league.
Yes, welcome,
And
Megan.
if this guy can tell you, you can turn a bad situation good in 1 year. And so guy can say the same thing. Actually, guy's situation was worse than yours.
Yeah.
You could turn a good situation bad in 4 years.
All right, so now we'll move on to we'll go to Kyle, which of course was Ross's team. Ross in 2020 finished 8-5. Let's see, close games for Ross.
There wasn't any because he blew everybody out.
That's well, no, he had the one
He
where he
either blew them
lost
out
to
or
Anthony.
lost.
The one where he lost to Anthony. And I think he had a lot of guys out that week. So he lost to Anthony by what, 50 points?
Hmm.
Not even 50 points, about 40 points. And then of course the big one was the 1 point loss to um, Efren in round two in the playoffs. I mean, you talk about here. I mean, this is going to blow you away. I think this actually is a league record. So for
It is. I
scoring,
looked it up.
Ross put up 20,000 or 20, yeah, 20,913 points, which was first overall. I mean, second place was what? How much is second place? Second
18,000.
place guy was like 2,000 points behind, more than 2,000 points behind.
Jeez.
Um,
If I had McCaffrey, I would have beat him.
but here's the thing. Here's what hurt Ross because he did, of course, have those 5 losses, which did surprise me. But so when teams played Ross, they brought their best because he gave up 17,654, which put him 12th for points given up. So when they showed up to play him, if he didn't have like a slaughter game, they beat him. Um, so and then of course he unfortunately, and this was after the original meeting would have been, he decided to step down, which was unfortunate, but gave us an opportunity to welcome Kyle Sykes, who, for those of you who watch the fantasy basketball or in the fantasy basketball, he's in that with us. He's Anthony Sykes' son, and actually he currently sits first place in the basketball league.
Yes, he does.
And actually, Guy, you find it interesting to know he's actually the individual that took over your basketball team.
I drafted a decent team.
Yeah, he was very happy to have Anthony Davis. Um, so looking over, like we said, this was top to bottom was the most loaded. I mean, if this would have been a 10 keeper year, Kyle would be sitting in great shape. I mean, he's sitting in great shape regardless of keeping 5. But projected to keep are Russell Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Elvin Kamara, and Travis Kelsey. Others receiving strong consideration are Chris Carson, Ronald Jones, and Allen Robinson. Well,
But
I mean, I know. I'm
but
just saying
still,
those are.
having those three
Yeah.
sitting there that you're not gonna keep, that's trade bait
Mm-hmm.
right there. Somebody, so some one of the lower teams, if that was offered.
I mean, he had the second scoring linebacker in Rokon Smith.
I had Rokon. I had Russ Wilson. I had Kelsey.
Actually, Russell Wilson's been traded a couple times in our league, surprisingly. Um, but yeah, Kyle. I mean, let's say you don't have much really to turn around. You just got to draft. And then he also has 2 first round picks. One, a potential first overall pick, because he has my pick, which is now, of course, mind you, it's the ninth overall spot. So if he was to, I mean, you're talking about literally winning the lottery if he gets his pulled first, because he's only got what, like 6 balls or 6 eggs in it. Uh, he's got six,
So
six
I mean,
eggs.
there is a chance.
There is a chance, obviously. I mean, anything's possible, but I mean, still having those 5 guys and having 2 first round picks in a year we're gonna have all these guys, it's gonna be pretty strong.
Yeah, you just got to draft well.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this
Absolutely.
comes down to. Like I have a strong five, but I pick 15th overall in the second round and then don't pick again until the fifth round
Yeah.
this year because I traded all the stuff away in the middle of the season to better myself.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about someone else that will not be here but be watching on stream is Rich. Rich, of course, is in Kyle's division. He finished 7-6. Just missed the playoffs. He did get the best of the rest championship trophy. But I mean, he was a win away from literally being in the winning his division and being in the championship playoff. So Rich had for close games. Let's see. I don't think he had too many. So he had in week 13 where he had the loss against Raymond, which we talked about earlier, which cost him his division title. And then he had in round one of the playoffs, he beat of the best of the rest tournament. He beat Nick Ritz by like 70 points. And then he beat me by 99 points to be the best of the rest trophy winner. For overall scoring, Rich put up, you know what? I forgot this. 18,192 points, which put him fourth overall in scoring. Um, but he gave up 17,342, which put him ninth for points given up. So he obviously had a good output, but in a lot of situations they were having good output too when they played him.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like I said earlier, playing a guy that puts up 20,000 points, almost 21,000 points, probably didn't help in your same division. Potential keepers for Rich, um, DK Metcalf,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Diggs, Aaron Jones. No matter where he probably goes, that's
Yeah,
a
where
keeper.
Aaron Jones is a keeper.
Antonio Gibson, we project to be a keeper.
I'd
That
keep
could
him.
be one that could be on the maybe on the fringe. Michael Thomas will be a keeper. And then just missing out, I put Kirk Cousins. Um, I mean, I put David Johnson just kind of missing out, but I doubt that one. Actually, if anything, it'd probably go to Darius Leonard. Would probably because typically he's been the number, but he got hurt in a few games last year. That's why his points were as high as they've been in the past. But he still, I think, was a top 10 linebacker for points scored. Um, I mean, David Johnson, but I doubt he'll keep him. David Johnson, I think his days in the league are almost done.
Yeah,
They were done before last year, I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
And Rich does have one. He has a first round pick, so he has the least chance of getting the first overall pick, but he still has a chance. So,
He's got a first round draft pick, unlike Guy and
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I.
Let's see who else is not going to be here.
Christian McCaffrey. Saucy.
So everyone else is projected to actually be here, but I'm gonna go by. So I know how to do this. I'm gonna use my instinct here on how they show up. No, Anthony. We haven't done Anthony yet. So Anthony won. He got his first individual division title, fourth for his team's franchise. He finished 9-4 in the regular season. For close games, I know he did have a couple, I believe. Don't know who that is. Um, so Anthony. Oh, here we go. Week 4, he beat Erging by 10 points. I mean, that's right there.
Yeah.
If he loses that game, you win the division.
if I
Erging really was your Achilles heel.
yes, yes, yes. I have a big issue with all three of the other teams in my division.
Um, Obviously, the big win for him was when he beat Ross by 40 points. And then in the second round of the playoffs, you end up getting your sweet revenge in the rubber match, and you beat him by 90 points. Um, and we were just talking about this a couple days ago. Tony was telling because Anthony's in the basketball league as well, and he's in our division. Um, and these two have like a budding rivalry going with each other.
Yeah, yeah. Me and Anthony, and then Ergain beat me twice. Um, and then
Ritz is
that
just personal because he went to Rockford and played against you in high school
right,
and beat you.
yeah. We Ritz and I played football against each other in high school, so I got an issue with Ritz. Ergane beats me twice, one by 4 points and one by like 30 points.
And then goes and loses by 10 to Anthony.
Yeah, I should have won that division.
My God, you know what? Let's play what if. So you beat Ergang. Let's say you beat Ergang in both those games. So that puts you at 10-3.
and and
And then if Jimmy would have had the one win, that would have put him at 10-3 and Efren at 10-3. You would have been the number one seed
yes,
because you were had the most points scored out of the three.
yep.
What if?
What if? And then what if I
Oh,
never
then you would have. Well,
picked up your Dolphins players and lose in the finals? But
well,
if I was the one seed, would I have made the finals? If we're playing this what if game.
because you would have played Ross.
Exactly.
What did you have? You beat him.
Nice.
You beat Ross actually well, not handily, but you beat him by because you put up 1545, he put 1493. And then you would have ended up playing you probably end up playing
Jimmy?
Jimmy as the 2 seed. It all depends on what happens with Efren in the first round because Efren would have played. I got too many what ifs here. I got to get like more stats written down. Let's see. Who were we just talking
Too
about?
much.
Anthony. So Anthony for scoring. Anthony put up 18,061 points, which put him fifth overall, and he gave up 16,554 points, which put him fifth overall in both categories. For projected keepers, we have Kyle Murray, Kyle Murray, Justin Jefferson,
For sure. I should have
uh,
drafted him.
David Montgomery, and then it gets interesting. I think he's got some choices here. So I got Juju Smith, Tyler Lockett as people he keeps, but Kenyon Drake is another one he could strongly consider. I
Can
think a
can
lot depends on what happens with Drake.
yeah, Drake is a free agent along
There's
with
somebody.
Jones, Connor. There's a lot of running backs that could
Well,
have a new home.
Arizona's not keeping Drake. They won't resign him.
So
Um,
that looks good for Chase Edmond owners or
and
people
then
that
I
might
think.
draft him.
Yeah.
Anthony
I think Arizona's just going to either draft someone or sign.
Anthony does not have a first round pick this year because he traded it away. He traded away. No, he has a first round pick, doesn't he? Oh my God, I'm losing it.
I don't know if he does or not.
Where's my Where's my stupid sheet? Now I'm questioning myself. Hold on. I'm pretty sure he has. Oh, sorry. I have too many things I try to remember. No, Mark has it. I thought he'd have a first round pick. Mark has it. Um, yeah, Anthony had overall a good season. You know, like I said, year of turnaround. I mean, here was it'd been a couple of years since his franchise had been in the playoffs, but it was the first time he was in the playoffs. Anthony took over for Tom Nelson, who was our league's first ever league champion. Let's see. We'll move on to the other guy we were talking about in your division because I know he says he's going to be here, but knowing him, he'll be one of the last people that shows up, and that's Nick Ritz. Nick, of course, was the defending three-time league champion, and he went 6-7 after he made, probably looking back, some questionable trades that he probably regrets. Maybe, I don't know. He might not. But you know, He gave you Mixon,
Mm-hmm.
and really neither one of you got any benefits out of it because both all the individuals got hurt
Yeah, it was a wash.
or had some unfortunate off-field altercations.
Well, see, I think Guy won that trade because Mixon is still around.
In the long term, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nick had for close games in week 3, he beat Ergang by like 40 points. Uh, in week 7, he beats Will by like 50 points, 60 points. Um, then in week 12, he lost to Ergang by like 9 points. Sorry, 8 points.
There's another close one with Ergang.
Yep. Well, and we'll get to Nick here. We'll get to him soon, but uh, that was all for him. For and then in the first round of the best rest tournament, he lost by 60 points. And then he does not have a first round pick this year because he traded that day before our draft to Jimmy in exchange for that was what the
That was the fourth pick.
fifth, fourth overall pick, which turned into DeAndre Swift. For Nick Ritz, put 16,610 points, which is 11th overall. Points given up 18,073, which is 14th overall in points given up. So he wasn't having much output, and he was getting scored on heavy in 2020. And again, he had a lot of injuries because when you look at his roster, he and I were Tony and I were talking about this about 2 weeks ago, I think, or a week ago, about Nick actually has a really good roster. This they were, he actually has some options to pick from for his
Mm-hmm.
keepers. So and I'm just gonna go through all of who I think are his considering because he could. So Matt Stafford's one I think he'll consider. I
Mm-hmm.
actually I put him not keeping him, but when I originally wrote this, it was before the deal happened.
I think Stafford's a
So
for
now I
sure
think he might
keeper
keep
with the
him.
Rams. He's got more weapons.
Um, Chase Claypool is another one he can choose. I know more than likely he's going to keep Kareem Hunt because he's high on him, which was 1 year's at one time guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, DeAndre Swift he's going to for sure keep.
Cam
I think he
Akers.
keeps Akers. Kenny Galladay. See, Galladay might be the one that is. I don't know because
I wouldn't keep Galladay. I just
Galladay's a
wouldn't.
free. Well, it depends where he goes. He's a free agent. If he
If he
leaves
goes to a good
Detroit and goes
situation.
to a good situation, he might. He
Mm-hmm.
might keep him. Cortland Sutton's another one that he's going to strongly consider keeping.
He got injured.
Yeah.
Of course, you also have a quarterback situation there. Are they sold on Drew Lock? Are they going to try to acquire another quarterback? What's going on in Denver there? Denver was a surprise team to me because I thought they were going to be better than they were. And then there was one other
Stafford,
guy.
receiver for the Texans.
Huh? Yeah.
Did you trade the
Yeah.
trade?
Um, and Tyler Boyd. I mean, Tyler Boyd's a decent receiver too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's actually got one of the better choices to pick from. He may have one of the more difficult choices, um, which is a good thing, I guess. Uh, and now he doesn't have a first round pick, but he has, I think, two for sure, possibly even 3 second round picks. So with these amount of keeper or who he could choose from, you had three which are going to in a second round. It's going to be a lot of high value there.
Yeah. With the five keepers,
More than likely, he's keeping Stafford. Now that I really think about this, he'll keep Stafford, he'll keep Swift, Hunt, and Akers, and then he'll maybe Claypool, and then he'll play the rest of it. He'll get his receivers in the third round or in the
Yep.
second round.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was Nick off off season for Nick, but not that you're complaining.
I'm not
And
complaining.
Efren sure
It,
is not
it,
complaining.
talking about my division, if you look at the sheer records of my division, it's the strongest division. Anthony, myself, Ergane, and Ritz. I mean, didn't we all have winning records? Or did Ritz was just under 500. So I mean that coming out of that division is gonna be
This,
tough.
and I'd have to go back and look at this, but this actually seems high to me. We actually had 11 teams with winning record, and I think that actually seems higher than normal. That's a good thing. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
good thing. So I just found out that Mark is going to be won't be here till about 6:30, which is, I guess, that sucks. But the good thing is that gives us the next person to talk about. So we'll talk about Mark. So Mark finished 9-4, surprising 9-4.
Yeah, I was very surprised him trading
Trust me,
away
he'll
Barkley and
he'll be the first
McCaffrey.
one. He'll be the first one to admit he's very surprised. Finished 9-4, win a division, make the championship playoff. For close games, I know he had something in here. So in week 4, he
Week
lost or
2.
he beat Guy 1746 to 1666. Tony, get rid of that one. Your favorite number. Um,
Week 2 as well.
so you know what? Let's talk about that one. Let's talk about week 4. If that gets flipped the switch, you may have won your division. If you would have won that match, I think, because that would have put you both at the same record. And if I remember,
And,
you outscored him. You outscored him clearly.
and your point of so many people with a winning record, that's just one game in this league can either make win your division or like we talked about me. Ergane wouldn't have beat me twice. I would have won the division and been the 1 seed
Here you go.
instead of the
Sorry,
6.
sorry, guy. In week 10, I lost to Mark. He put up 1,055 points, and I put up 902.
902.
I think I had a. I think if I remember, I think I didn't have a quarterback or something that week. Um,
Is that
and
before you got
then
Tua?
and then he lost.
Mahomes
You,
scored more
you
than
owe
me.
you owe this. Oh no, you don't owe this man an apology. You actually did what you're supposed to. You beat him uh, by like 40. We talked about it earlier. You beat him by like 38 points
Yeah, in round 1.
or 40 points. In oh yeah, that was round 1. Never mind. I forgot that was the playoffs. And then of course he ended up losing to Jimmy and finishing 6th overall. For scoring, Mark Mark put up 17,822 points, which was 7th overall, but he gave up 17,521, which is 11th overall. So I think those are numbers he'd probably say that's what maybe I projected to do, but he did have a couple. He had some help. I think some of your games, some of your close losses helped him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, obviously Jordan had a really down year. As far as lineup to pick from, um, he has for sure he's going to probably keep Deshaun Watson. I'd say Tyreek Hill, uh, George Kittle, um, Will Fuller, but that could depend on what happens with Will Fuller.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: his lineup isn't all that strong. That's why
Mm-hmm.
Will Fuller is in the conversation. And then we also got James Washington. I mean, other ones that he could consider. Uh, Now, this might be actually, now I think about it, this actually could be a consideration just because of what happens in with the Jags' first overall pick. But wide receiver Lafishka Chenault.
Chanel.
Chenault should be. I would consider him a keeper because you know Jacksonville's going to get a
Mm-hmm.
quarterback.
He's more of like a offensive weapon rather than just like a receiver. He's kind of like an all-around, put him
Right.
anywhere.
But I've heard rumors that Jacksonville's going to have a lot of moving and shuffling around of players. So some guys that are there that might not be there next year. He
Mm-hmm.
obviously will be one of them that are kept.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
he's a rookie. He was a
right.
rookie this year, so they not going to get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
So he also has 4 first round picks. One actually has a legit shot at being the first overall
And
pick.
that's going to reshape his team
Right.
completely. So I mean, Mark's sitting good. He doesn't have on paper he doesn't have a very strong roster, but those if he hits on three of the four of those draft picks,
Well, and
he's
one, like
good.
I said, could be the first overall pick. He has the third most because he has Will's pick, so he's the third most amount of ping pong or Easter eggs. They're Easter eggs. Um, and then he's got the other three picks are all playoff teams. On top of that, you talk about his team for the next couple of years. He's got three first round picks next year because he has guys, and he has Wills. And then in 2023, he has guys. So I don't know if Guy is going to have any input in those picks for him or not. You should have thrown that in the deal. Like you have consideration to help him pick the player.
You can have the picks, but I get to make the
Oh, I'm gonna start doing deals like, oh yeah, you want a first round pick, you get it, but I get to pick for you. That's one thing that irritates me about the NBA, their draft. Like when they do a draft trade,
pick. Mm-hmm.
like like so for example, Chicago sends their first round pick to Denver. Like Chicago still has to make the pick. That's why I've never understood why they do it that way.
NBA draft, like I don't know why they have it anymore. Like
Yeah.
no one, there's so many trades this year. It's like nobody knows who's good anymore.
Right.
So tell you what, we'll break my team down. So
Garbage.
yeah, well, I finished 7-6. For close games, I had a few. Let's see, there was week 3, I lost to Efren by just a little under 100 points. Um, and then in week 8, I lost to Nick Ritz by what? By about 50 points. I beat Raymond in week 9 by about the same amount of margin. And then in week 10, I lost to Mark by like 50 points. And then in week and then in the best of rest final, I lost by 99 points to Rich. Um, for scoring, I was 16,788 points, which put me 10th overall. However, points scored against 16,359, which was 4th. My problem is I put all my stock into those early rookies, which I think is going to pay dividends in the future
Mm-hmm.
because they start showing at the end. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
both Taylor and Dobbins were having strong games to close out the season, but at that point it was too late for me.
Yep.
So speaking of keepers, uh, now of course this is.
You're one of the teams that don't keep a quarterback.
Oh yeah, I'm not keeping a quarterback. I mean, I'm telling you right now, unless I was to make a deal with one of these players, this is my 5, or something happens to one of them. Excuse me. Ezekiel Elliott, J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, Kelvin Ridley, and A.J. Brown. The only one that was really strongly also considered was C.D. Lamb was strongly considered, and Devin White actually was strongly considered because he was the number one scoring linebacker. He
Mm-hmm.
actually, statistically, he was 200 points less than Ezekiel Elliott for me in total season.
Jeez. Well, it's his.
So you're already here. There's my keepers unless something changes, which I've already had considerations for one of these players I mentioned in a deal.
Yeah, I already tried to make a trade too.
Most
Uh,
quarterbacks in the league are available.
Now I don't have my lottery pick actually belongs to Kyle, but I still do have a first round pick. Fortunately,
You're welcome.
I got this guy's, but that's what 15th overall,
Yeah.
and I do have a second round pick. I have a few in the third. I think I have 3 in the third round. Um, so that was my team. Who else can we talk about next? We got about an hour before we go off air. Well, you told me they're not going to be spend a lot of time here, so let's talk about Christina. Um,
This is one of the teams that
Not much to talk about with Christina, I
um,
guess, in 2020.
she
She,
she needs to find some good trade partners out there with all these um, guys that people aren't keeping, like me with Brandon Akayuk. I don't plan on keeping Akayuk. He's available for trade, um, just to acquire some talent.
So
She's got the draft picks
right.
this year.
She went 1 and 2. Um, she is not on here at all for. Oh, she was. There was one. Nope, that wasn't. Never mind. That was less. That was more than 100. Um, so she went 1 and 2 as far as points scored and points given up. Um, she scored 13,453 points, which would put her 16th place for points scored. Points given up, she was at 18,086, which put her 15th. So she didn't score much, and when people played her, they pounded her. I mean, they brought their best game, and she didn't bring hers. Unfortunately, she did have a roster that had some injuries, and but she made some trades, which are going to benefit her in the
Yeah,
end.
she got Barkley, so
So
that's a big one.
so here's who we could look at as her, and this was a deal which was with Will, and I think this deal basically happened because he was trying to still save something when Barkley went down. Barkley obviously everyone expected to be a stud, which he is, but getting injured, so Barkley obviously will be a keeper for her. Um, I see T.Y. Hilton being a keeper no matter where he goes, just given her lineup unless she makes any deals.
Yeah.
At this point, I see Carson Wentz being kept. Um, and then here's where it gets tricky. James White could be a keeper. It's not a strong route. I mean, she needs to make some. If she can make some trades, but again, she does now. She has. Oh, and then also the other considerations. And I don't know. Carryon Johnson, Todd Gurley, Cole Beasley. Obviously, they're not studs. You know, you got to keep five, so you got to keep something. Essentially, you're looking at depth more than anything, just
Yeah.
backups. But here's where her bread and butter is going to be. She's got the most amount of for herself. She's got the most amount of Easter eggs. So she's projected to have the number one pick. She also has Jordan's pick, which she gave up. Now she gave up Melvin Gordon. I actually think this is a good deal for her. I really do. I mean, Melvin Gordon is obviously a good player, but he's kind of sitting in that spot where she can get younger.
Yeah, he's perennial. He's top 20, top 15 running back. He's not bad, but he's not gonna.
So with that pick, with Jordan's pick, that gives her so she has the most amount and then the fourth most amount of Easter eggs. So she has a potential shot at literally having the first two picks, like a legit shot at the first two picks. So and then obviously she has all her other picks. She didn't trade any of her. She'll have the first round pick in the second round, and so she's in a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think she has someone else's. I think she has two picks in the third round. So this roster, what we're looking at, could be a similar to a your situation.
That's kind of what I mean. Looking at her roster compared to what I inherited last year, I had maybe five guys that was worth keeping, and I made all kinds of crazy deals to improve my team without, and I was still acquiring first round draft picks because I had a couple days before the draft, week before the draft, I had three first round draft picks last year, and I was like, it's only a five keeper year. I'm drafting for 2020. I'm going to move back in the draft because I can't keep all three of these and still keep this guy that I already have on my roster. So I kind of moved back, but Christine is in a better spot.
Why would you not keep Guy? I'd keep Guy.
Um, Christine is in a better spot because she's not looking at the five keeper years. She's got 2 years of 10 keepers.
Yeah. No, she can
So
build.
so
I think
she
she's
can
in a
she can
good
build
position.
something right
I
now.
really do. Like I said, it's probably the weakest lineup to look at, but it's.
Yeah, but that draft capital.
I mean, think about this. She could literally take that second round pick and turn that into a solid player that someone is either a not concerned keeping or one of their kind of like their. I mean, she could actually come out better by trading away that second round pick.
Like like I mentioned, Brandon Ayuk. I would trade her Brandon Ayuk in a minute for a second round pick.
I actually offered her a trade for that second round pick.
I know you did.
I know. She hasn't responded yet, so maybe I'll find out today. And by the way, it'd be a better deal than Brandon Kayuk.
Yeah, I know it would be. You told me about that.
So I'll tell you about it in a second. Um, but yeah, so big day for her. Today could be her day. Could make her for the next 3 years, really. So now let's go to the final member of your division, guy. Someone who going into the season we all projected was going to be in the final two. Was going to be sitting where you're sitting, final in the second spot, and that's Will. Will made some massive deals, literally put it all into 2020,
It
and
was plagued by
2020 for Will. I think Will will say this. 2020 for Will was 2020 for Will's fantasy team. I mean, it was, and like he said, we did the one stream last year, and he's like, well, this is for future Will to deal with. And I wanted to ask him that, but he might not be here for very long, sounds like. But I wanted to ask, so what does past Will have to say to future Will? Or what does future Will, I know it'll be future Will have to say to past Will?
yeah. Will's situation's a lot like guys plagued by injury.
No, it's not because let's see. Let's look at
Oh, the
so he
draft
doesn't
pick.
have a first round pick. This is as of right now. Obviously, if he could possibly make a trade in some capacity, but he doesn't have a first round pick. He doesn't have a second round pick. He doesn't have a third round pick because Mark has a third round pick. So he doesn't have a fourth round pick. He doesn't pick until the sixth round. And let's see, as far as where he finished, um, he put 17,217 points up, which was ninth in scoring, but he gave up 18,456 points. So he really got pounded when they played him. And for keepers, now he's not sitting in a horrible situation for keepers, but he's sitting in a horrible situation for not having a pick until the sixth round, unless he makes a deal. So Dak Prescott will be a keeper for sure. Josh Jacobs will be a keeper for sure. Um, James Conner will be a keeper, I think, no matter where he goes, because I don't think he stays in Pittsburgh. But I've heard the Jets.
I've heard Connor with a few different teams.
Yeah,
Um, and then here's where it could get. Now here's where it gets tricky. So this one could depend on where he goes. Le'Veon Bell.
I don't keep Bell.
I'll keep Bell no matter where it goes.
Um, also in consideration are Marvin Jones, Cooper Kupp, uh,
Cup maybe.
Bridgewater, but I don't think you keep Bridgewater.
Did you say
Robert Woods.
I was gonna say Woods.
Woods I would probably hang on to.
Yeah, I would keep Woods over Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this, guy.
Yeah.
You said you would not keep Bell, no matter where he goes.
Mm-mm.
What if he goes back to Pittsburgh?
I don't see him going back to Pittsburgh. How that
I've actually
relationship
heard it.
ended.
I've actually heard
Really?
this.
Too, but I don't think it matters. I mean, they'll draft a running back, and then they still got McFarland and
Benny Snell.
So even if Bell went back there,
What if he go? Here you go. What if he goes to Green Bay, where they have a solid passing game, where they can't just like sell the farm to take him out.
I don't see. I see Green Bay bringing back Jamal Williams, not Aaron Jones, and they spent a second round draft pick on AJ Dillon.
You just don't want him to go there because you want AJ Dillon to.
This is true, but if you think about it from the Packers' standpoint, they spent a second round draft pick on AJ Dillon. They're not going to go pay a high profile running back to come in there.
I think Le'Veon Bell at this stage of his career is the guy that's, if you sign him, he's gonna be the one who goes, oh my calf's kind of sore today. I don't think I can play.
Yeah, good point. He's not really a good locker room guy necessarily.
Yeah. Like if he gets signed anywhere, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But just like I said, I really thought he was going to be one of the cream of the crop this year, and I mean the Barkley injury killed him right there, right from the get go,
Mm-hmm.
and then it went downhill from there. I
Well,
think.
Dak Prescott going down too.
Oh yeah, and Prescott. I mean,
He
well,
lost his
okay,
quarterback and
yeah.
his stud
Oh,
running
not only
back.
that, then he picked up. Well, then he picked up AJ Andy Dalton, which was a smart move, but then he got hurt. It's
Yep.
like who else? Cup got hurt.
I thought that was a good trade for him.
Um, Connor really didn't last. He was up and down because of injuries. He didn't play every game of the
And
season.
that's the big thing
Really,
with
Josh
Connor.
Jacobs, I think, was
He
the only guy that probably played every game for him.
that's the big thing with Connor. I looked it up and throughout his career he's only played 12 games a year.
Right.
He hasn't been
He's
healthy.
if you sign him, he's going to be injured 4
Yep.
games.
Yep.
He's usually pretty good when he plays those games, but you can't
He's
depend on
really
him.
good when he
Yeah,
plays those games. You know, the
you
12 games he plays, he's a top 5 running back,
if you
top 10
sign him,
running
they
back.
have a strong running back there already. Like San Francisco, that might be
That might be
a good spot for him.
where it's a
Arizona,
committee.
yeah,
It's not necessarily one guy like it is with
mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh.
Arizona, Seattle.
Yep.
So let's talk about next. Not too many left to talk about. Um, Holy cow, we've almost gone through everyone. Let's talk about.
Ergang?
We'll talk about Ergang. We'll talk about your buddy.
Yeah.
No, let's save him. We'll talk about Dennis right now. We'll save the best for last.
Yeah.
So Dennis, he finished 2-11. Um, I mean, it wouldn't have mattered. The games he didn't really impact much as far as close games. For points given up or points scored, he put up 14,606, which was 15th overall. And then for scoring, 17,325, which was eighth. Looking at that number right there, if his team puts out a little more output, he might be in the conversation for at least for the higher end best of the rest. Looking at his potential keepers, here we go. For sure, he's keeping Josh Allen.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's where it gets dicey. So then you get Amari Cooper, um, Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
No matter what happens with Godwin, he's going to keep him.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'd say he's going to probably at this point keep Adam Thielen. And then that fifth spot, I think, I don't know, at his fifth spot, he might actually pick. I wrote down, I wrote down Mark Ingram, but I, he he'd probably serve him good to make a deal of some kind, even if he trades away a second round pick to acquire something of
Mm-hmm.
value better than that. It's not a good roster overall, um, but where he is in the win column is going to be the draft. So he has two first round picks, two of which are draft lottery picks. He has his spot, which is the second overall spot, and then he has guys, which I think, if I remember, is what sixth most amount of balls. So he's got potential to get for sure the first overall pick, and then still crack that top five.
Well, with Dennis, he made a bigger mistake early in the year before the season even started when the Jags released Leonard Fournette. He dropped him. He was there. I picked him up. So that was, I mean, Fournette didn't do much during the season, but he still, if he comes back and he's with a team that he actually gets carries and Ronald Jones isn't the guy, he's a top 10 running back.
Yeah.
That was a pickup that could have turned our seasons around too. Because you must have grabbed him moments before I tried to. Because I actually clicked on his name to pick him up. When we went to the next screen, it was like it froze. So you got him like
Yeah,
This
and
is
and
what I did.
I got to work and I'm like, dude, I have Leonard Fournette, and Eric's like, what? He didn't even see, and he was sitting there for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big pickup for me, and
Yeah.
um,
Because if I would have gotten him, I wouldn't have traded Herbert for Gurley.
right. So
But you look at where he's sitting. I mean, he can, possibly get himself a couple of running backs in that first round.
yep.
Um, I mean, like I said, if he could make a trade, acquire a receiver, maybe give up a second round pick, acquire a receiver, he's got some options to improve himself. Um,
I think there's going to be a lot of trading this offseason as well.
See, I think different. I don't think there's going to be much because a lot of the teams have 5 players they want to keep. It's going to be the Christinas, the Dennises
Right.
that want to
Will. Well, Will. The only difference with Will is the only way he can make an impact is he'd have to essentially give up beyond. So he'd have to say, okay, I'm going to give up, and he doesn't even have his. What had happened was he accidentally traded away his second round pick twice.
Mm-hmm.
And he traded that was the Marvin Jones deal. He traded to Anthony, and then he traded again in the Barkley deal, and I didn't catch it quick enough. Um, so when I was sitting there going through telling everyone, okay, you have to make your in the computer submit your trades, and I'm like, oh crap, he traded that twice. So at that point, he had no third round pick to give up because Will already had that. So we just worked out value wise. All right, well, just the 2022 first round pick then. So that's how it worked out. Um, but like Mark's like he's like honestly he goes that's what I have to get at this point. But if I wouldn't have got that, he goes I really wanted that second round pick. He goes I wouldn't have done the deal if I wouldn't have gotten that second round pick. So, but yeah, those are I think of the three teams that really. I mean, unless Jordan, but Jordan doesn't have a first round pick either to deal with to improve his team.
So like um I offered a trade to Will to try and get Josh Jacobs away from him for Fournette, a Kayuk, and a second round draft pick. He turned me down, but he was considering it. That would move him back up. That's the kind of deal that Will has to make to move beyond the 6th round. Same with Christina and Dennis. They have the draft cap. Both of them have the draft capital to move around and get a proven player where they can draft a rookie and he's going to pan out.
I offered Dennis actually to try to get his both his first round picks. I offered him Elliott.
No one wants Elliott.
Eh, I do. I was like, I did. It was
It
like
doesn't
my,
seem like it.
yeah, I know I do. It was kind of like, you know what? Maybe now's the time if I'm gonna move it. Maybe now was the time. It was like a
Mm-hmm.
trying to get younger. I always try to have my team be like one of the youngest in the league. So the final team we have
But he
not talked.
traded away David Montgomery. He gave up on him too early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I got Dobbins out of it.
Gurley did pick up
Dobbins
Gus.
hasn't proved himself yet.
Yeah, Gus is still one.
Yeah, Gus is still there.
Moving along. So the final team to talk about is this guy's favorite team to talk about, Nick Ergang.
Yeah.
Nick Ergang finished 8-5.
I really don't like anybody in my division.
Um, he finished 8-5, but he finished what eighth overall. Um, just missing out on his chance to play for his second best of rest tournament. Uh, for close games, he was in here a few times. So, oh look at that, week two. Did we mention he beat you by 4 points in week two?
Maybe.
So 4 points. That's close. Um,
Oh.
oh, here we go. Then he lost in week four. Did I mention he lost by 10 points to Anthony in week four?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Did you mention that he beat me by like 30 points in week what 9?
Oh, then he went and beat Ritz by 8 points in week 12. And then, oh, geez, look at that. Week 13, 1,370 to 1,297.
Mm-hmm.
Got a big win for himself there.
Yeah,
Big loss for you.
33 points. Yeah.
And yeah, that was his season.
Yeah. Thanks, Argane.
I'm sure he'll be here in person to.
Yeah, I know.
So as far as where he ranked scoring wise, he put up 15,639, which was 13th overall. Which obviously that's not a lot of points. However, how did he go 8-5? This is how he went 8-5. 14,867 points given up, which was first overall.
Teams suck when they face
Yeah,
him.
they.
Lucky.
So I mean, you look at his lineup or his roster. If he has just a little bit more offensive firepower, I mean, who knows what happens for him? He may be sitting where you're sitting.
Yeah.
So as far as his potential keepers, he's not sitting too bad a shape
Well,
actually.
he was hurt by the Eckler injury too.
Yeah, definitely. So for his keepers, this is what we're looking at. We got Lamar Jackson, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, Terry McLaurin, and we're putting Baker Mayfield as his fifth keeper. Other considerations are because he's kept him every year, so I put Justin Tucker as another consideration. It's because he has always kept him.
I'm gonna say this just for Will. Why do we have a keeper for, or why do we have a kicker? Just why do we have a kicker?
Because we love kickers.
No, I hate
Don't
kickers.
make me pull out the Saturday Night Live skit where
Well,
we are
the
kickers. We
kicker I
kick the
wanted, you've
ball.
drafted away from me. So
We're just here to do the kicker shuffle. Other considerations, though, it's I mean, this is Jamison Crowder, probably not. Um, Emmanuel Sanders, probably not. I mean, these guys are going to be going someplace else to play. They're still going to get production, but I wrote down Tyler Higbee, but I mean, maybe he's actually benefactor of having
well,
Stafford come there.
he might be because Everett is a free agent.
Yeah.
Actually, if you really wanted to consider someone for five, and I didn't even write this guy, I just thought about
Naheem
this.
Hines.
Naeem Hines. I think he'll keep the two quarterbacks though,
Yeah, probably.
because then he doesn't even have to even worry about quarterback in this draft, because he has all his picks. He didn't trade any of his, and he is sitting what eighth most balls, and he moved up last year. I don't remember. He didn't move up much, but he did move up last year. Nick Erging has always had this team where he seems to like just hang in every game, and he kind of struggles in the regular season, and then he turns it on in the best of the rest. But this one, he kind of, I said he went 8-5. I mean, you look at this record, literally, if he beats, oh my God, I never thought about it. If he beats Anthony,
Yeah, that's how close our division was. And the games between us all, like Ritz could beat us all. It was every time we played each other, we didn't know who was going to win. So
hold on
it was a tough division.
hold on 1 second here.
Like at the end of the game, I started out on fire, and then the end of the season, I I think I went 1-4 in the last 5 weeks.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you this right now. If he would have beat Anthony in that week where he lost by 10 points, he wins your division because he would have had a better division record than you.
And if I would have beat him the two times we played, I would have won the division. And I think Ritz beat Anthony a week too. So I mean that division was just insane.
No, it was a fun year in a way. I mean, it was a weird
Being
year.
my first year, I really enjoyed it. Well, I had a lot of success too. Success I didn't expect. I figured I'd be in the bottom of the barrel, or barely making the best of the rest tournament. So it's gonna be a down year for me. I'm just saying. because I don't have the draft picks to sustain it
Yeah.
unless I draft really well in the fifth round.
So that's all the recapping for 2020 as far as actual team production. What can we talk about real quick? I want to save that. So I got some of the 2021 NFL free agent possibilities, but that's a different stream down the road that's going to be coming up. So we will be having a sign up sheet for streams this year. I got some, and I'm telling everyone they can pick two, and two to start, and then we'll go from there as people put them in. This way, I kind of did the math as everyone that's kind of done streams or is considered to do streams, whatever. There's enough for everyone to at least do it twice, and possibly more. And they're gonna be fun. Like I said, I'm gonna have it where there's not just me and someone else. I want to have it kind of like this, where there's a couple of people. We can have an actual conversation of a round table, and some of them might take place in the bar. I've thought about that, kind of moving around the room. Some here, the keeper one will be in here for sure. Also, I want to have someone with me, and hopefully in house, not have it on the. They are more complicated to do them to have the people on the
Yeah, I
the
mean,
Skype one.
because I can join. I have my webcam now, so I can join even if I'm not in house. I can still
Right.
join.
Um, but I definitely want to add to the stream. Obviously, we have, and we had talked about if people can see it in there. We got a new whiteboard, um, which we're going to take advantage of, I think, in this in the draft and the meetings going forward. Um, Also tonight we have on agenda we'll have our draft lottery. We've talked about that a little bit. Christina's got two in there. Dennis has got two in there. You're looking at Mark, who was in the he has he has one in the top three potential. Um, Kyle, of course, taking over Ross's team, finished third overall. He's got a chance at a first overall pick. So the draft lottery does what it's supposed to. It tries to spice it up, gives people some incentive to, like I said, Nick Ergang, gives him incentive to, even though he's not having a great year, to still maybe try to make a push for that best of the rest, not tank it, and say, hey, I could win this and still have a shot at getting the first overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, what else do you guys want to talk about? This what I thought there'd be more people here by now.
Yeah, what's it?
Yeah,
Five people
because I was
already.
happy to, the whole point is that as they come in, we nail them. We got this. We got this year. We'll have this little microphone, and it'll actually be able to reach out to everyone out the room. So this way, when people are saying something, they can have a microphone, and you can actually hear them on stream. Because before, the good thing about these headsets is they pick up what we're saying. However, and it's also a good thing they don't pick up outside us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's for our meeting. That's a downside because it's like, oh well, if I'm the only one, if it's only this, no one can hear me.
Right.
Um, so yeah, we'll talk about the schedule release will come out. Everyone's gonna be getting one of these little packet, and in it has a contact list, updated contact list because we have two new owners. It'll have the 2021 schedule release, so who you're playing this year, which everyone essentially knows kind of their main people they play. They just don't know what order or who there's so you play your division 6 times. There's 6 games. There's a division rotation for every year, and then you have 3 outstanding games. And it's all based on how you perform. So the teams that, for example, you are going to end up for your 3 remaining games are going to be against either 1 or 2 seeds out of their division. Whereas, for example, myself, I was third in my division, so when I have to play, my other games will either be a third or fourth seed in their division.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, and I put in here, there's a possibility of having, we're going back could go back to 14 games. I think you were here when you won it. I think was the last year we did the 14 game season.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we went away from it is because, well, what if someone gets screwed out of the championship game was week 17.
Yeah.
So, and it never happened, thankfully, but it could have happened where like someone had to buy, like their players didn't play that
Well,
week.
this year there's an extra game.
But they're not certain on. That's why it's not. I don't think it's in stone yet. They can do
Oh, it
it.
is.
It is in stone.
I thought so.
I thought because when I originally wrote this, when I made the schedule, I looked it up, and they said there's a strong possibility, but it's not a guarantee that they're going to have an 18th week this year.
I thought it was. You could be.
Okay.
Could be wrong.
Well, so the way the schedule it shows that we have 14 weeks, but there's 1 week marked specifically is if the NFL has 18 weeks. So that's week 11. Week 11 in our season on this sheet doesn't happen if they don't add this year. If they don't do it this year, it's for sure next year. And then also everyone will get an updated um, draft order as of right now, all the rounds. And what else is in this little packet? And then also I have thrown in here, and there's only 3 of them on here, the 2022 trades that have taken place already. What the heck? We'll mention those. Mark gets a first round pick, and Will gets a 12th round pick next year. And oh geez, Mark gets a first and second round pick, and Guy receives a 13th and 14th round pick.
Hey, those are the picks that won your season.
Yeah, you're right. The first and second round do. Uh, and then in 2023, I threw that on here. Mark gets a first round pick, and Guy, he's gonna. You're looking to own that 14th round, aren't you? Nick Ergang has just arrived. Welcome, Nick. We just literally got done breaking your team down.
Nice.
Yeah, Tony enjoyed that conversation.
I did not enjoy that conversation.
No, you we were just talking about how essentially you screwed him
The two times we played, you beat me by a total of 40 points. Week 2 it was
combined.
4 points.
And then there was the game where you lost to Anthony by 10 points, which we actually did the math. And so, because obviously you wouldn't have saw this yet, we just got done talking about this. Had you beaten Anthony in was it week 4? What week was it?
I don't know.
I think it was week 4. If you would have beat him by 10 points, you would have been in the championship playoff because you would have won your division. And you did it all with having this was for standings, you had, for scoring at least, you were the 13th highest scoring team, but you were the first in points given up, which means you got scored on by hardly anyone. When teams played you, they did not bring their best. They brought their worst. And then we were talking about your keepers. Potentially, we see you keeping Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, and Terry McLaurin. And I can tell you this, he will not be getting a bunch of trade offers from me for Terry McLaurin this year. Because
You might get a couple more from me for Austin Eckler. He's already
really,
got like 3 of them.
well, we know he's not getting a first round pick.
Right.
First round picks are overrated.
Yeah, you don't need those. Or second round.
You want to join the conversation? No. Um, Listen, I thought a lot more people would have been here by now because the whole point was to have them like we did last year as they walked in. I think this is actually making people want to come here later.
Most likely.
I'm trying to figure that out
Probably onto something.
because when we did the draft one last year, a bunch of them stayed upstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, it could have been because Amy was here too, and she's
Yeah.
not here this year. She's up in Newberry visiting my beautiful mother-in-law, spending time with Rich's family right now up there in Newberry, and she's coming back tomorrow. So I got to make sure the house is tip-top shape.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? We can end the stream now, I guess, and go eat some food.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I
said
got nothing.
normally we thought this was going to go a lot longer because I thought as people come in, they'd sit down, have conversation with us.
Who's going number one overall in the draft?
Okay, if you want to have that, let's say Christina. We'll just say Christina gets the number one overall pick. We've kind of talked about the keepers. So I think the first overall pick will be Travis Eaton.
ETN.
Etienne.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
think
what
it'll
I
be
think
though.
it'll be.
It could be him, not Lawrence.
I don't think Lawrence will go.
I don't know. She
Well,
needs running back more than she needs quarter. She's at least well. She remember she's got potentially two in the top four.
Right.
So she could come back and get. Okay, Dennis is not going to take a quarterback. So
Mhm.
if she plays it out. So let's say it goes by projected. Dennis is not taking quarterback if he has a second overall pick.
Yeah.
Mark is not going to take quarterback if he has a third overall pick. She can get Lawrence at 4.
True.
I mean, really, if you look at this entire list, she could end up with the 10th overall pick and probably still get Lawrence
Mhm.
or any other quarterback that's not
yeah,
kept.
'cause you took,
I took Burrow at 6 last year.
was it 6? I thought you took Zach Moss at 6, and then took Burrow
Maybe. Because
at 10, because you took C.D. Lamb instead of Burrow.
that
Yep.
could be, yeah. Because I got all, for the first time, I got all the players I wanted. I just,
I know you stole Pittman away from me.
I was surprised, because everyone thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire was going to be the first overall pick. Um, Jonathan Taylor outscored him,
mhm.
and then
James Robinson outscored him.
I picked then I picked Dobbins at 3. He outscored both Akers and Swift, and then I picked CeeDee Lamb at what 7? No, 8. You took Burrows at 7. I picked at 8. I picked CeeDee Lamb, which I would have taken Burrows had you not taken him. And he outscored all the rookie receivers. So I nailed my rookies. Just unfortunately, it's only a 5 keeper year, so I can't keep all of them.
Mhm. Yeah, that's where I'm struggling a little bit.
So
Yep, because I'd love to keep Brandon Ayuk.
CeeDee Lamb is available for trade.
So is Brandon Ayuk.
Anyone on my team is available for the right offer.
Nick, anyone you willing to do trades? Yeah. All right, folks. Well, we're gonna cut this stream here, and we're gonna go eat some food. Oh, that's like perfect timing as if we came into the screen there. It's like he was taking over the news broadcast. All right. Well, we'll see you. We'll come back here about 6 o'clock. So we'll see you then.